Hey guys, and welcome back. I'm still in the same shirt and still in the same makeup, just like I said I would be. I'm filming the next story time while I have the time. So this story is the continuation of the last one. So if you haven't seen that, you should go watch that first. It'll be probably called Story Time. Hannah's extreme birthday event. I don't know, something like that, but I'll link it down below. Basically, after those events happened and I went to live with Hannah and Dakota and his sister, I'm naming her Carissa, but that's not her real name. I went to live with them, and it was Carissa's apartment, but Hannah and Dakota were living with her at the time because they didn't have enough money to get a place of their own at the time, and they didn't want to live up with Hannah's mom because she lived like an hour and a half, almost 2 hours from Fresno, and that would have been a long commute for work every day. And so they were both living with her, and they offered her money, and she said no. We can just get an apartment together in a few months once we've saved up a little, and it'll just be me paying the bills for now. And so they weren't going to pay anything to live there. And then I felt bad, but when the events from the previous story happened, I had no other choice but to ask if I can. Or I don't think I asked. I was like, fine, I'll live in my car. I'll get rid of everything I own and I'll just live in my car. And Hannah said, I'll ask Carissa if you can come stay with us. And I was like, but I have a cat. She's not going to want a cat. She's got a dog. And she asked, and Carissa said it was more than fine for me and my cat to move in. And you'll know why I said and my cat in a little while. So I move in that same day that I move out from Brittany's. I say Brittany because that's her fake name from the previous story, if you haven't watched it and you're still deciding to watch this one anyway. That's when I moved out of Brittany's. So I moved straight into her place, and most of my stuff went in the garage or in the house, and I was living in the living room, sleeping on the couch because there were no other rooms. There was a 2-bedroom apartment, and her son were in her room, and Dakota and Hannah were in her son's room, and it was one bathroom for all of us, and it was cramped and it was crazy. So we were looking for an apartment, and I had a job, Hannah had a job, Dakota finally had a job, we all had jobs, and we were going to be able to afford an apartment, a bigger apartment. I think it was a 3 or even a 4-bedroom. No, it was a 3. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment, and it was really nice, and we finally found one. That's why I say it was really nice. Sorry, I have to keep readjusting because of my knee. It was a really nice apartment. It had a garage. It was a upstairs, downstairs loft type situation. We had seen the apartment, like, we had seen what the apartment was kind of going to look like. They didn't have one. Sorry, this is really bugging me. You know. Now it just gets even worse. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. It's so bad. Okay. I'm just gonna leave it. Whatever. Right? It's as good as it's gonna get, right? Okay. So we were all gonna move into that place. We had all agreed on it, what payment we were each gonna pay towards the place. We'd split it up, divvied it, figured out what we were each gonna be paying to live there, and agreed upon it. And then Dakota went ahead and put down the deposit, and he was just gonna take out what he owed towards the deposit from that, because it was like $100 to put down towards the deposit, and then it was going to be $500 total. So he was going to take that out of what he and Hannah were going to owe towards the deposit once we moved in. But we had to put $100 down in order to reserve the place for that month until we were able to move in. So he put that down, and then like a week, maybe not even a week, it was maybe a day or two after he put that down, I got really badly hurt. And that was my first ever YouTube video, my knee injury. I went to the hospital. I got hurt at a gymnastics place, and you can watch that video if you want full details, but I got hurt at a gymnastics place and I shredded up my knee really bad. Oh, this lipstick is really bad. I'm sorry, guys. So I shredded up my knee really bad, and so I was freaking out about how I was going to pay for it because I couldn't go to work, and I was going to be in a wheelchair for months, and I had to have surgery, and I already couldn't afford, you know, living and lifestyle. So I was freaking out, but I was like, we'll still figure it out. Don't worry. Sorry, I'm still trying to fix my makeup and it's just getting worse. I don't know why I keep trying when it just keeps getting worse. You guys are probably like thinking I'm crazy. I'm sorry. Anyhow, so that's what was happening. I was gonna figure out how to, you know, get an office job or something, or figure out how to pay for it. But Carissa decides, like, the day after or a few days after I'm in the hospital with my knee, that she doesn't want to pay what she originally stated she was going to pay for the apartment. She doesn't want to pay 2 parts because she has a son, and she was going to get the master bedroom. So she's like, I'm going to pay 2 parts since Hannah and Nakota are paying 2 parts because there's 2 of us, even if he's not here full time, but because we're getting the bigger room. So if they're going to pay 2 parts for a regular sized room and I get a bigger room, I should pay 2 parts too. And then I was only going to pay 1 because I had the smallest room and it was only me. There was no one else going to be in the room. And then if I had somebody in the future that I wanted to bunk with, to room with, they could split, we could split it up into, it would have been 6 then, but we split it up into 5 portions because there were 5 of us, even though her son wouldn't be able to afford to pay for his portion because he's a little kid. But she was going to pay for his, and Hannah and Nakota were going to pay for theirs, and I was going to pay for mine. We'd all agreed upon that, and then now she's going back on it because her grandparents and Nakota's grandparents were disapproving of us all moving in because they didn't like me and they didn't like Hannah. And they still don't like Hannah or Matt or I. But they decided to tell her that that's not a good idea. You shouldn't have to pay for 2 parts. You're only, you know, you should only have to pay for 1 part. It's not like your son's there all the time. It's just one person that's going to be basically living there. And we'd already agreed, and it was set, and I had a certain portion, and I was able to pay that, but I wasn't going to be able to pay any more. So that wasn't going to work for me. Like, I already was freaking out about how I was going to pay for my part now that I didn't have a job. But then add on the fact that she doesn't want to pay 2 parts anymore. That's another $300 we have to divvy up into our costs. It's another $300-400 that we had to divvy up into our costs. And so, not to mention that it wouldn't be fair to Hannah and Nakota if they had to pay 2 parts and didn't even get the biggest room. So if we were to have continued, they would have ended up with the master. And then she would have been pissed because she didn't get the full-size closet or a bathroom to herself. So it just wasn't going to work out anyhow. She's like, well, Sarah's not going to be able to afford living here, and I don't want to end up paying multiple parts because she can't afford her rent anymore. And then she pulls out. So I'm pulling out. And this is after he put a deposit down. We'd agreed. She had even given her 30 days notice to her apartment that we were all living in. And then she's like, oh, and I want Sarah out of my apartment ASAP. And Hannah, you can't stay here, but Dakota can stay here since he's my brother. They're together. And the only reason they're not engaged at that time was because they wanted to wait until they had their debts paid off more before they engaged. So, once again, I'm out of a place to live, and at the time, I'm in the hospital. So I'm like, well, how am I going to move all my stuff move out if I'm in the hospital for God knows how long? It ended up being a month and a half that I was in the hospital, just an FYI. Because I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair, and I couldn't even get up to go to the bathroom. So it was really difficult for me. And so I ended up having to make my mom and a friend of mine help me move out and go there in a wheelchair and get released from the hospital for a certain amount of time to be able to move my stuff out, because I didn't trust her anymore. She's like, you can leave your stuff here in the garage, but that's it. And I had a TV, you know, I had things that were like important that can't just be left in a shared garage, because it's a shared garage. There's no split in between the two. So anyone can just come in there from that other person that has access to the door and steal stuff like my TV. And she's like, fine, I'll leave the TV in the house. And I was like, no, I don't trust you. I don't trust anybody that you know, and you hang out with sketchy people. I'm just going to have to find somebody to come pick it up. She's like, well, you have to make sure the time works with my schedule, because I have to be there in order for you to go get your stuff. You cannot come to my house or my garage without me being here. And I'm like, now you're just being ridiculous. And so me, who's in the hospital, and my mom had to work around her insane work schedule that was never the same, and her insane pickup schedule of her son that never seemed to match. And get to the house and get my stuff out of the house and make sure that there was nothing in the house. Because she's like, I put everything in the house that was in the house in the garage, or Dakota and Hannah took it when they left. And I was like, well, I don't trust you, because you said you were going to move in and then took your word back after we had already filled out all the stuff and were done and set and ready to go. So I'm going to come in there and look at it myself. Of course, I couldn't go upstairs, so I don't know that for sure that all my stuff got taken from the bathroom, but it's whatever, you know? Pretty sure I made sure all of the stuff I had was gone, because of the living situation for the next, you know, however long it took. I really don't still know if I have all of my stuff or not, but it's whatever. I have the stuff I need. That's all that matters, really. And I know I have the most, like, expensive items. Like, I have my laptop and my camera and my phone and my iPad and my TV. Those are the most expensive items I own. So, it's fine. So she's ending up saying that we can't live there and we have to move all of our stuff out. They did it in like the span of a weekend, and I did it in the span of a day. And then she has no place to live anymore because she gave her 30 days notice, so she has to move out within 30 days too. And now apparently she's living off of a friend of hers, just like we were living off of her. And she literally said to us in a text message, she's like, I let you guys live here for free, and you guys were so ungrateful. You never said thank you. You never did any chores, blah, blah, blah. I cleaned her grimy bathroom, spotless almost, besides the stuff that was stained on the walls because it'd been there so long. And I did the dishes every night that Dakota didn't do the dishes. So if I didn't do them, he did them. And so both of us did the dishes. And Hannah even did the dishes, but she didn't have to do them as often because she cooked. She cooked every night. If we didn't eat out, she was cooking. It wasn't her. It wasn't Carissa. She did the cooking. So we did help out. And I said, and I have it in text messages where I said thank you 1,500,000 times. I said it so often. Like, I'm sorry if I'm getting like really like and bubbly headed, but I can't even describe to you how many times I said thank you, and that I appreciated living here, and that if I could afford to, I would pay her to be living there. You know, I wasn't trying to mooch off of her or anything. You know, I was going to give her my food stamp money, even though that's illegal, and, you know, I was going to give her whatever I didn't have to use for my food. We were going to combine all of our food stamp money together to get food. I was going to help out in some way. It just wasn't going to be in the form of, like, actual cash money. Yeah. So the whole situation with that just went even more downhill. And this is from her birthday on, Hannah's birthday on. So you got to know how bad her birthday month was. So following that, we all moved into Hannah's mom's place. And I think they, ended up commuting to work for a little while and then couldn't do it anymore. And so they began the process to move to Sonora. And this is while I'm still in the hospital. So I didn't move with them right away to Hannah's mom's house. And then I lived at Hannah's mom's house after I got out of the hospital for about a month or two. Maybe 2. I think it was 2, maybe even 3. It was pretty much the entire summer, until about August. It was from June to August, I believe. So maybe 2 months. Because April is when it happened, my injury, at the end of April. So April 2nd, I moved from Brittany's, and then at the end of April, on the 21st is when I got hurt, and then at the end of May is when I got out. It was like May 30th, maybe, maybe even June 1st or something, that I got out of the hospital. Actually, I think it was a little bit past June 1st, because I remember I was like, oh, there's no way I'm staying past this month. They're not going to let me stay that long. And then I stayed a couple days longer, and I thought I was going to end up being able to stay that month, and then it didn't work out. So I think it was like June 6th, maybe, that they said you can't stay here any longer in the hospital. You're good to go. And then my surgery, actually, it might have been longer than that. Almost the end of June. Yeah, almost the end of June, because I was getting close to my surgery, and I was like, come on, it's only like 2 months away. Why can't you just let me stay here? I don't have anywhere else to go, you know. I'm still recovering. I can barely walk. And they weren't having it. I could get up to go to the bathroom, which was far enough for them. Even, you know, I had a brace on, and I was in a walker. I could barely get to the bathroom. But they said, bye-bye. Honestly, though, they kept me a long time, so I was grateful for that. It got me through the months I needed, the month I needed of staying there. And then I moved to Hannah's mom's house, and then a month into that, they moved into Sonora. And then it was about a week or 2 before surgery that Hannah's mom said that she couldn't house me anymore. And Hannah's mom and Nana, I say Hannah's mom's house because it's easier, but it's really her Nana's house, and her mom lives there too. And like there's an add-on to the house, and she lives in that. So it's really Nana's house, but I say Hannah's mom's because it's easier. So they both housed me for about a month and a half, 2 months. And then they were like, we can't afford to keep you here any longer. And, you know, I understand because I eat a lot more than they do, and I couldn't really get up to do any chores or anything because their chores, besides maybe the dishes, were like going outside and doing like manual labor, and I could barely get to the, you know, bathroom, to the pool, to those kind of things. And the pool was my physical exercise, and I could barely get up into that. And so it was just hard for me and hard for them. And so it was time for me to go. And so I ended up going to my aunt's house for a few weeks. And then the day before, or a few days before, I went up to Hannah's and Dakota's in Sonora and stayed with them. Actually, no. I stayed with my aunt. Sorry, I'm thinking of a different. I went up and I stayed with Hannah. After Hannah's mom couldn't host me anymore. Hannah's mom and Nana. So I stayed with her because I had a few days until my court hearing. So I stayed with her for a few days. Then I went to the court hearing that I was telling you about with Brittany. And then I went to my aunt's house after that until it was time. And that was about a month that I stayed with my aunt until it was time for surgery. And literally that same, I think, week or day even, a few days before surgery is when my mom found a place to live in Fresno. And so I went and I had a place to live. Or no, it was a few days. It was a day after surgery. I don't know. That time was very confusing and stressful. It's hard for me to remember, but we had a place to live following that here in Fresno. And then we moved to a different place, which is the place we're at now. So it worked out. But that is the events leading up to my surgery. And that gets you caught up to the story time about my surgery and how that happened and all the stories in between. So if you watch this one, the previous one that I just posted a few days before this one will pop up, where I'm in the same clothes and makeup, and my first ever YouTube video about my knee, then you'll have the entire story of my life from I want to say like December of 2017, 2018 till now. Plus, you know, all my stuff that's been going on with getting an attorney for my mom, and her being wrongfully not wrongfully fired, but let out of her contract before it was up, with her new job that she had, and now with her finding another job. So that's where we're at. And there's more stories in between my life and stuff that I'll post, but this is like the events of the most recent that are fresh in my head right now, and I wanted to talk about before I forget even more details on them. So I hope you enjoyed it and you liked the video, and subscribe to my channel for more content, and check out those other videos I mentioned. And I don't normally do story times. I mostly do unboxings and ghost hunting videos on occasion, but I just thought this would be fun and give you a little insight into my life and my craziness for the past year or two. And so I hope you enjoy. And I will see you in my next video if you decide to stick around and subscribe. Bye.